Hi everyone, it's Ed from Runnable. Hope you're all well. Now, if you've been watching my channel, and I hope you have, you'll know that I've been running a lot in this, the Neo Vista 2 from Mizuno. It's Mizuno's second iteration of the Neo Vista, which I have here. It's their max cushion super daily trainer. When I say max cushion, I really mean that in this respect. You've got a massive 44.5 stack in the heel. Other people have measured it even higher than that, but I measure it 44.5, 36.5 in the forefoot 8mm drop. It kind of feels like an 8mm drop, maybe a little bit less, because this foam, this soft aliphatic TPU foam, does compress a little bit when you land. So if you're a heel striker, you'll compress that even more. But all in all, it's a wonderful ride, this shoe, and I've been waxing lyrical about this on my runs. It's really nice and bouncy, but you can pick up the pace in it. It's a little bit quicker than the Neo Zen, which again is another really nice shoe, full of this aliphatic TPU foam. This does not have a nylon plate though, which this shoe does, as you can see there. And that plate acts as a little bit of a stabilizing agent, because this stack is much higher than the Neo Zen. I always going to say Neo Vista then. Neo Zen is below the 40mm mark, whereas this, as I said, is 44.5. Weight wise, it's a little bit higher than the original. It's around 280 grams in my UK size 9. The original's around about 270. So it's gone up a little bit in weight, more than makes up in the sense of this extra amazing foam that it's got. So bouncy, cushioned, really nice ride. It's got a nice rocker, not as intense as this shoe, the Adidas Evo SL. If you look at the two shoes, they've got very different rockers. This is a lot more extreme, as you can see. When you land on this shoe, if you land where I do, you land around here, it kind of feels a lot flatter than when you land on this shoe, which feels like you're landing on a curve. So some people might like that, some may not. Feels slightly more natural, and it's weird to say that because this is not a natural shoe. You bounce along in this shoe. If you're a bounder like I am, I'm 5'9", 63 kg. I'm a forefoot striker, as I said. When I land, I roll off and bounce. You know, I'm a bounder. I like to hit the ground hard. I'm not a shuffler. I'm not one of these people who's massively high cadence. I'm more of a bounder, so I'm not a cadence runner. So for me, I really like the extra bounce this gives me, propulsion as I lengthen my stride and hit the ground hard. So all in all, I've really enjoyed this shoe. So if you've got the Neo Vista 1 and it's still pretty good, and in reality mine is still pretty good. Look, treads in place. This lasts quite a long time, this shoe. I don't think it's probably worth getting this shoe. The similarities are there between the two. You know, the geometry is almost identical. The uppers are different, but I slightly prefer the original upper, if I'm being honest. It wrapped around my foot a little bit nicer than this, which I found a bit baggy. I fixed that though by putting an extra insole in here, and that meant that I got really nice lockdown and my foot stayed in place, so that was really nice. So that's kind of a hack you can use in this shoe if you find it a bit baggy, particularly those of you with narrow feet. If you put a sock line or an insole, whatever you like to call it, it should keep your foot nice and in place, and it feels a little bit more like it's wrapping around your foot. Less baggy, less cavernous. But if you have this shoe already and it's not worn out, then I don't really think you need to buy the Neo Vista 2. This is, in my opinion, a better shoe. It's bouncier, it's more cushioned, it feels more lively, but it's not so much better that you would need to rush out and get it if you've still got lots of miles in this shoe. If you're liking the Evo SL and you've got this shoe, you definitely do not need this shoe. They're very different, and each in their own way are lovely shoes, you know, and they've each got their own strengths. I feel like This shoe feels better at slower paces. The Evo SL though, once I quicken my stride, once I start hitting further up into the forefoot area, I roll through, I can pick up some really nice pace in this to a degree that I can't in the new Neo Vista 2. So yeah, arguably very different shoes, but they can achieve, there is some crossover, particularly at that middle pace, whereas this is better, like I said, better at slow paces. This is better at quicker paces, in my opinion. If you've got the Neo Zen, again, you could use them in tandem. You could use this as the recovery shoe, and you could use this as your kind of long distance cruiser. Also, when you want to pick up a little bit more pace, because it's got that plate, gives you a little bit more pop. But again, it's a little bit overkill. There is crossover between these two shoes. So again, I would say you wouldn't necessarily need them both. If you've got the money, fine, have them both in your rotation. Use this as your slow day, easy day, recovery run shoe, and have this as your long distance cruiser, and also when you want to pick up the pace a little bit more. I think this is good up to marathon pace for me, which is about 4 km. You know, I would say 4 minutes km, but I would say any more than that, any quicker than that, and this struggles a bit, whereas the Adidas SL doesn't. Okay, there are some other shoes you might have, right? You might have the Super Blast. I've got the original, still going strong, and this has got to have done about 700 miles, this shoe. I mean, it looks a bit like it has, but actually I still get good use out of this shoe. Again, there's a massive crossover between these two. They're quite similar in many respects now. I would say that, again, you know, if you've got the pair of these, you do not need the Neo Vista 2. This is a softer, bouncier, more fun ride than the Super Blast or Super Blast 2, but they're going to achieve pretty much the same thing. You know, you're going to be able to go long in them, and you're going to be well cushioned and protected. If you've got the Prime X Strung, I'm showing off now, right? You've got the Prime X Strung 2, sorry. This is an absolute beast of a shoe. You can go long in this shoe. You can go very quick in this shoe as well. Again, you may not want them both. I mean, this would be better for your recovery runs and easy pace, definitely, than this shoe. But this can cover all those kind of mid-pace, long-distance cruises that this shoe does. So again, it could be overkill to have this and the Neo Vista 2. This would actually go very well with the Neo Zen, I think. This is your recovery, and this to do pretty much everything else. So you hear what I'm saying here, right? Balos. The much forgotten Balos, one of my favourite shoes of last year. Again, quite a similar shoe. Definitely more cushion in the Neo Vista 2. Feels a bit bouncier, but this foam, this Fresh Foam X, fantastic. Really top quality foam from New Balance, and I love this shoe. I'm actually using the sock liner from this shoe and putting it in the Neo Vista, and it's one of the best sock liners, insoles that you get with any running shoe. It's actually full of actual foam that you would get in a, you know, like the PEBA foam that you would get in the shoe itself. So, or it might be EVA actually. But point is, it's high quality, that sock liner. So again, a brilliant shoe. You wouldn't need both of these. You can do pretty much the same. There's a lot of crossover between these two. And finally, one of my favorite shoes, which I'm now using for my long distance cruising runs. There's a lot of crossover between these shoes. I'd argue that this shoe, though, is even more versatile, because this can go easy and can go incredibly fast. You know, I've just run a half marathon in this shoe, and I did it in 1:20, and it was a hilly half marathon. Arguably my best ever half marathon, because of how difficult it was, and the time was like way more than I expected. Did it in the Cielo X1. Brilliant long distance shoe. Really bouncy, absolutely fantastic shoe. And again, there is a massive crossover between the two, but I would argue this can do everything this shoe can do, and a little bit more in terms of faster paces. So it feels like I'm kind of telling you not to buy this shoe. Well, that's not the case, right? I'm saying if you've got those shoes, why would you buy this? Why waste your money? But if you don't have those shoes, or they're coming to the end of their life, then this is an absolute, as someone might say, a banger. A fantastic shoe from Mizuno. It's better than the first version. The upper's not, but the rest of it is. The midsole's magic in this shoe. It's the kind of shoe that once you start putting on and you start doing your runs in this shoe, you don't want to take it off. In fact, it's managed to get me away from the Adidas Evo Outsole, which is some accolade, to be honest, because I was finding it hard not to reach for those for every run. Now I reach for this. So, and it's mainly because of how lovely and bouncy and soft it is to run in this shoe because of that TPU, the aliphatic TPU. You have got that EVA foam at the bottom, like you have in the original. It's the same foam as you get in this to act as a more stable foam. Once you land, and the soft foam you compress, you get that nice, a little bit more stable, rigid foam at the bottom to take that compressed foam and give you a nice push back. And again, you've got the plate, nylon plate, which helps with that as well. It's not the most stable of shoes. If you've got stability issues, I wouldn't necessarily buy this shoe because you do get a little bit of medial lateral movement, but it's not by any means unstable. It's probably it's similar to the original, might be slightly more stable because the cutouts you can see aren't quite as extreme. This was huge and you got rocks caught in this kind of thing. It's probably similar stability to the Evo Outsole, more stable than the Neo Zen because of the plate. Similar kind of stability to the Primex Strong 2. Actually, that's pretty stable shoe, but it's max stack. If you look, it's 50 millimeters, this one. So it's not as stable as the Super Blast, and probably not as stable as the Hoka Cielo X1 or Balos. But all in all, a fantastic shoe, one of the best shoes of this year. And hope I haven't confused you with all that, but what I'm actually saying is, I think if you haven't got those kind of shoes in your rotation, this would make a great addition. And that's kind of all I want to say. Watch the run footage. Hi everyone, it's Ed from Runnable. Yeah, I'm in Chelsea once again, as you know. And I've once again got the Neo Vista 2s on my feet. Let me show you. I keep wanting to say Neo Zens all the time, but if I've said that in my previous video, I apologise. It's an easy thing to do. These shoes, as I've said in my first review, they're a little bit baggy, the upper. So I put some actual insoles on top of the insoles that are there. And they feel a lot better actually. So maybe that is a hack for you guys that buy this shoe, and if it feels too much space around your foot, if you put another pair of insoles, there's enough volume there to cope with that and your feet, and it feels so much better. I use the insoles out of my Balos, the New Balance Balos, which are probably the best insoles in any shoe actually. They're I think they're actually a form of racing foam that make those insoles. So they are pretty remarkable insoles, to be honest. So they feel absolutely fantastic in this. Already the experience is even better, more bouncy. So yeah, I think that could be the way to go. So what I'm going to do today, I'm going to go around Battersea Park again. I'm going to do 2 laps. So by the end of it, 8 or 9k. Nothing too crazy, easy pace. I just want to start to ramp up the mileage in this shoe and see what it feels like, as I go further into my runs. And then tomorrow, hopefully, I'm going to run to work, which means a lot longer session for me. But it may or may not happen. It depends if I can get up, to be honest. I have to get up extremely early to do that. But we'll see. Hopefully we'll do that, and I'll catch up with you soon. But thanks for watching my videos. I love you all. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you subscribe and click the bell, then you'll get it in notifications in your feed of my content when it comes in. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. I'm on about 736, I think it was last, so it's not too far away. We're just trying to get to that 1,000 landmark, and it'd be really cool if you can help me get there. But I appreciate you don't have to do that. It's just if you like the content. Anyway, I'm rambling again. I'll see you later. Bye bye. So I'm here again in Battersea Park with the Neo Vista 2s, or not Neo Zens, as I keep saying. Just done one lap already, on my second lap, and the shoes are actually feeling very good. They're very, very easy to run at a half decent pace, right? And I think this is where they have the advantage over the original Neo Vista, in the sense that they're bouncing me along a bit more, and it feels a lot easier in this shoe to run at quicker paces. What I would say though, still not anywhere near, I feel like, the Evo SL for these quicker paces. It's nice, but it's not like that shoe. So, or the Hoka Mach X2, those two stick out for me still, and the Neo Vista is a tier down from those in terms of picking up the pace. But where it lacks in that department certainly makes up for it in the comfort and cushion department. It's more cushioned and comfortable than either of those shoes, particularly for someone like me who lands in the forefoot. You've got this huge 36.5mm stack in the forefoot, which is lovely to land on. And now I've just put in this extra insole to stop my foot moving around because of how cavernous the forefoot area is, how high volume it is. I feel nice and locked in, and even more cushioned. So I'm getting real lovely protection and bounce in this shoe. And so, all in all, it's becoming one of my favourite long run shoes already, I think. Tomorrow, hopefully, we'll be able to do a bit more of a long run. I'll have to see, because I've got next Wednesday, I've got another 10k race for my club, and I'm kind of trying to avoid the hills at the moment. So, I'm not sure I want to run into work, because that does involve hills just yet, to get that out of the way. So that might have to wait, but it's possible I can get up really early and either do it locally or come here to Bouncy Park and do laps of this circuit. It's roughly about 5k, just shy of 5k. It's nice and flat, a few undulations, but nice and flat, so shouldn't take it out of my legs too much. But to go back to the shoes, they feel so much better fitting with this extra insert. I call it insert, other people call them sock liners. Don't know if that's an American thing, but anyway, today I've got the Balos insert or sock liner on top of the one that's there, and there's still plenty of room for my high volume feet. So for those of you with low volume feet, i.e. your feet are pretty flat, I would definitely consider an insert. The only downside with doing that is it adds to the weight a little bit. So given that you're not going to be racing in this shoe, and it's kind of like there as a daily trainer, don't think that's such a big deal, right? If you're going to race in this shoe, then of course not a good idea to add to the weight. I'm not a big one for worrying about weight on a daily trainer. I often run in the Primex Strung 2, which is over 300 grams in my 9.5, and I don't mind that at all, as long as it gives me a bit back, the shoe. I don't mind it being heavy, like the Skyward X as well. Another good shoe. It does kind of remind me a bit of that shoe actually. So those of you that like the Skyward X, I think you're going to like this shoe. It's got that kind of same bounce. It's not ridiculous but nice underfoot. You feel like you're being really nicely cushioned on the ride. It feels a bit less of a stack in this shoe than that shoe. I think that shoe's around 40 millimeters in the heel, so that is a Goliath. This feels a bit less, but it feels equally cushioned, which is a testament to that aliphatic TPU foam that this shoe's got, which is lovely. And that, I think, is the special ingredients, the special sauce in this shoe, really. The combination of that foam plus the supercritical EVA at the bottom to act as a firming agent, and then you've got the nylon plate, this waveboard, to actually give it that extra bit of stabilisation and stability. And what you have with those three things in play is a shoe that is bouncy, propulsive, fun, but also not ridiculously unstable like you might get often in a shoe that is this tall and this soft to run in. So Mizuno have really thought about this shoe. They've taken the good foam of the Zen, they've looked at the original Neo Vista, they've mashed it all together and produced something that's a step up from both of those. Something, as I've said before, it's a lot more versatile, a lot more stable than the Zen, and something that I think is a real rival to things like the Super Blast, the Adidas Evo SL. If you don't like the fit of that or the foam, lots of people don't like the way that the forefoot is so rockered and curved. I think Tim Gross mentioned that on one of his reviews. That might have been about the Adidas Pro 4, but I think the same applies to these Adidas shoes. They've got those early stage rockers, and when you land on that forefoot area, it feels like you're landing on a curve, which I actually like, but a lot of people don't. It feels a bit too unstable for a lot of people. So if you found that shoe unstable for those reasons, you may well like this shoe. As I mentioned in the review, some downsides for you if you've not listened, but please listen to that review, first run review. It's the upper's a bit hot. I'm feeling it now. It does feel a bit hot. It's also cavernous, which has meant I've had to put this insole in a sock liner to make sure my foot doesn't move around, which is another negative. The material is a Bootie fit, but doesn't quite wrap round your feet as nicely as the original Neo Zen, which again leads to this cavernous feel that you have in the shoe. So there are some negatives. The grip's fine, it's not going to blow you away, but it's this soft rubber compound that adds to the kind of luxurious ride of this shoe. This soft, bouncy, fun ride. No idea yet about durability, but knowing TPU as we do in the Puma shoes, it's got a good reputation for being quite durable. The Neo Zen, the original, was kind of average in terms of durability. Yeah, it starts to wear away at that rubber on the grip, but the tread, but the foam seems to be okay. You've still got those rock collectors underneath, but they're not as bad. It's not as like a big canyon like the original. It's two separate cutouts, like a figure of 8 underneath your shoe, and you've got this really nice landing pad, large landing pad to stabilise the ride along with the plate. So all in all, I really like this shoe. Good purchase, Ed. Good purchase. Because I buy everything with my own money, it kind of makes me feel nice to buy a shoe that I know I'll be doing a 100-mile review of, because I know I'll be using this as part of my Trek Marathon, New York Marathon training block coming up. It's going to get a lot of miles, this shoe, along with the SL. And that SL is going to go, forget 100 miles, it's done that already. It's going to go 300, 400 miles. And we'll see at the end of that how it looks. But all in all, very positive start to this shoe. Ed from Runnable loves it, absolutely loves it. Mizuno, you've cracked it again. I'll have to do a shoe rotation of just Mizuno shoes in one of my videos, because they really have nailed it. There's your shot of the Thames as always. Forgot to start my watch the second half, damn it. Right, you'll have to just believe me, I've run 10k instead of 5k. Really sure. That's so annoying. But anyway, that's what happens when you start talking. I stopped to sort my camera out and forgot to start it again. The watch, that is. But anyway, main thing is I know I did it. So, all in all, very happy with the purchase. I think if you are finding it too baggy, put that extra sock liner insert in, and it'll make all the difference. There's your runnable hack from Ed, and I'll see you soon. Love you all. Bye bye. Hi everyone, it's Ed from Runnable. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of running in the Neo Vista 2s. I'm going to do another run through Battersea Park, and I promise you I'll do some different runs soon, don't worry. It's just convenient for me at lunchtime. I've got some ideas about competitors for this shoe. So someone asked me in the comments that they have the Mag Max and whether they should pull the trigger on the Neo Vista 2s. So I've got some thoughts around that. For those of you that have already got like max cushion daily trainers, whether you actually need these or not. So we'll talk a little bit about that on the run. In general, we'll talk about these shoes and what it feels like to run in them as I get more and more au fait with the feeling of running with the Neo Vistas 2s, which are rapidly becoming one of my favorite shoes. Anyway, let's talk in a bit, and I'll see you later. Bye bye. Okay, so as you know, I'm in Battersea Park again, and we want to talk about the Neo Zen. Sorry, not Neo Zen, it's the Neo Vista 2 and its competitors. So as someone mentioned in the comments of my last video, if you haven't watched the video, my first run review, please watch it. But someone commented about they have the Mag Max, should they buy the Neo Zen 2? And I think my reply was somewhere along the lines of, if you like the Mag Max even, not Thunderdome, then why not just use that as your maximal daily trainer? It's got a huge stack, and save yourself £149 by not buying the Neo Vista 2. If you've also got the Neo Vista, like I have, and you've got many a mile left in those, absolutely no reason to buy the second version, the second iteration. Why waste your money? Wear that shoe out and then come and get this. In my opinion, this is a better shoe, pretty much mainly down to the aliphatic TPU. Midsole, the geometry, the outsole are pretty much the same as the original Neo Vista, and the upper on the original I prefer actually. Wraps around the foot a bit better than this one. I've had to put an insole into this one because I had too much volume above my foot, which led to loads of bunching and what have you. So you may have to do that as well, which is saying something because I've got quite a high volume foot. So those of you that have got flatter feet than me, less fat toes, you're going to have a issue with this shoe, perhaps even if you do put an insole in. So yeah, if you've got the Neo Zen and you've got the Evo SL, again, there's not much point buying this shoe. The Neo Zen, if you wanted to use that just for recovery runs, then this could fit in as your long distance cruiser, but there is no reason why you couldn't use the Zen for that up to a certain point. I found that after about 15 miles it became really hard work for me in that shoe, just because of how soft the foam was. Feet were having to do a lot of work. There was no plate or stabilising agent or no EVA, supercritical EVA foam to give me that firmer ride. But again, it might be overkill to have this in the Zen. There's definitely a crossover, right? Other shoes to think about. Prime X Strung 2. Again, you can do all the runs that you, apart from the really slower runs, you can do all the runs in that shoe that you can do in this shoe. So if you've got the Prime X Strung 2, although it's a bit heavier, I know, I wouldn't bother with this. I'm trying to be brutally honest with you here. Prime X Strung 2 is actually a quicker shoe than this with more energy return. I've raced in that shoe. I've gone under 18 minutes for a park run in that shoe. Not even a quick park run, so I know how quick that is. So the Prime X Strung 2 is another shoe that you don't need to replace with this if it's still going strong. If you have the Cielo X1, the original, and you've relegated it to more of a long run shoe, a daily maximal cruiser, max cushion cruiser, then again, you do not need this shoe. I would argue if you can get that on a deal somewhere, that's actually one of the few shoes that would be better than this. Just as soft as this, but you get a lot more energy return from that shoe than you do this shoe. That's not to say this is bad, this is a really good shoe. Just the Cielo X1 original is an amazing shoe, particularly for long runs and workouts where you want to go quick. So that's another shoe that if you've got, you might not need this shoe. Okay, there's a few there. Another one that springs to mind is the Nova Blast 5, a very popular shoe. And again, you have the Nova Blast 5, it kind of, it's a very similar shoe to this one actually, soft like this one. It's good for doing medium pace runs. You can go a little bit quicker in that shoe as well, like you can this shoe. I've seen people race in the Nova Blast, so I know how good that is for going fast as well. The only thing I would say about that shoe compared to this one is I think that this one, the Neo Vista 2, is better for the longer runs. So I found with the with the Nova Blast 5 that it kind of bottomed out a bit during my longer runs, whereas this, although I have yet to take this on 20 miles or anything, but I'm almost certain it's not going to do that, mainly because of the plate. Some people call it a glass fiber plate, nylon plate. I think the nylon plate will keep things steady, structured, and you will avoid bottoming out the foam because of that. And this foam, this TPU foam, as we know, doesn't bottom out very easily. You just got to look at the Puma shoes, like the Fast R3 Nitro Elite 3. When I ran a half marathon in that shoe, the foam felt better at the end of the race than it did at the start. That's how good that foam is. That's how good this aliphatic TPU is. Probably the best foam out there on the marketplace. Maybe TPE would have something to say about that, but I'm almost finding that foam too soft, and it's given me some toe issues, particularly when I ran in the Endorphin Elite 2. I had some proper toe issues then. So all in all, I think there are some definite good competition for this shoe, and there's definitely no need to buy it if you've got a working one of those shoes. Let's run through them again. Mag Max, tick. Prime X Strung, tick. Original Neo Vista, tick. Neo Zen, tick. Nova Blast 5, tick. Probably more that I'm not counting, but they're the ones that spring to mind. Oh, Mac X2, well, how could I forget that? Tick. These are all shoes that I think there's a big enough crossover with this shoe to mean that you don't need to buy the Neo Vista 2. But if you haven't got those, or you've got those and they're starting to decline, then this would be an excellent buy. And for me, right up there with the Evo SL for different reasons, and we're going to do a review of those two head to head pretty soon. And with that, I'm going to see you later. Hopefully that's been useful for you. I'm going to go to Waitrose to get some food now. Bye bye. Oh.